In the coming day, Jesus Christ will return to the earth as the millennial Messiah, or the second coming.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is losing a record number of its membership.
Travis went good, so because day number 2, cyber terrorism from YouTube. I guess the Mormon employee was upset with a video I did today. This will be recorded for tomorrow. So yesterday, a 2-hour video, a religious video going over the holy days, the Jewish holy days, and here I am getting cyber attacked. No one else on YouTube is getting treated like I've been treated by YouTube. I've got the snapshots. I have the evidence. I've been keeping all the evidence. All of the hate comments of Mormons, all of the death threats, all of the abuse. Today was Judgment Day, and Mormons are found wanting. You have failed your judgment, Mormons. And you're taking it out on me rather than repent. Nelson proved to be a false prophet, because today is Judgment Day. Nelson said Jesus is coming on Judgment Day. It's supposed to be Revelation 19, but that date was 8 April 2024. Jesus didn't show on that day either. And so all Christian-based religions, including Islam and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, now are known as false prophets. So now they're being used to destroy America for their shortcomings rather than repent. So, still waiting for the fall of the great and abominable church, because without the fall, there can be no Exodus. There's already been a spiritual Exodus manifesting itself physically by Mormons just quitting, not going to church anymore. As the actual Exodus, if there is nothing to take down the church in advance of Thursday, will be the election. More information from Trump's rallies are making that very clear. Even Mitt Romney is again reminding people about how he's targeted by Trump if he wins. It's the church, Mitt. It's the church. Remember? Those of you who've been following? Oaks got leaked by a sister missionary. 19-year-old sister missionary got leaked. Naughty, naughty, naughty. But that's the whole thing, is that she is at the lower rung of the knowledge pyramid. She believes that what the prophets say is literally true. The Mormon employee, I think, suspects a little bit of knowledge that it's coded, because he's stalking me. He knows what I'm talking about from the Book of Mormon, from the words of Joseph Smith are true. And therefore, he is acting maliciously, knowing he is wrong and still attacking me to protect the church. Big difference in how you understand what's really going on. And it's real simple. Who told you what you believe? Was it from reading the Book of Mormon? If it was, how could you screw up learning of the Jews and call it Christianity? You instead chose Kimball's addition to the subtitle, rather than believing the actual words of the Book of Mormon. And so you do not believe the Book of Mormon, you believe Spencer W. Kimball. You need to tell the truth, even to yourself. Quit lying. If you cannot tell yourself the truth, you are a lost and fallen person. And so, if Mormons think that they're going to find something in my 8,000 plus videos that are going to prove that I'm false and therefore the church is true, oops, you failed. You can search for the rest of your life with all the videos that you have to go through. I mean, 8,000, oh, man, you know, he's back. And but 8,000 videos times 1 hour? I'm not going to bother to try to do the math on how many weeks it's going to take you. Months. Could even be years. But that's, the YouTube employee is upset that I was allowed back onto YouTube. That was a cyber attack that I had today. While watching my video, I was checking the news, and all of a sudden YouTube popped up on the screen, a black screen, video unavailable. I've seen that before. It was after getting away with my Mother's Day massacre by YouTube's cyber attack. Upset that I was able to overturn a thumbnail picture not being porn. And so, yes, it was over a month that YouTube forbid me from viewing videos while signed in. And here it was this morning because of that 2-hour video. He had already shut me down. It was about Thursday, wasn't it? But there were still some videos that were getting hundreds of views, even though they're not getting into the thousands like the conference ones. But nobody else is getting attacked like this. Not deep state Dems, not MAGA, not Mormon critics, not Christians, not Islamists, not Jews, not Mormons, just me. Just me. And maybe women. They seem to be getting attacked by YouTube too. You have failed your judgment if you have to resort to criminal activity. You have proven the church false. Like I said, I have the snapshot. All I have to do is post it. Because there are those who say, show me the evidence. And typically it's for the church from a scripture that they violated. You know, like section 119 in violation of 2 Nephi chapter 26. Plus there's others. For example, like paying for the temple. I can go back into the Old Testament with Isaiah. You are no match for my associative memory. No matter how much you are an expert memorizer and think you can compete against that Mormon boy on Jeopardy. Jennings, I think was his last name. Ken Jennings, wasn't it? All he does is memorize. He's not smart. Memorization is not intelligence. A computer can memorize. That doesn't make it intelligent. That's what it's supposed to do. And now we have algorithms that make it stupid. It no longer is able to regurgitate basic memorization information. So, anyway. We're all doomed. We're all gonna die. And so, tomorrow is September 11th. September comes from the Latin word septem. And I think it's in French and Spanish and your other Latin-based languages, because it's Latin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, look, I got skills. I often get confused with Latin and Spanish because it starts off exactly the same until, and most of the time if I'm doing Spanish I end up saying Latin, and if I'm trying to say Latin I end up saying Spanish. But Septem means the 7th month. And so it was a pope who was illiterate who changed our calendar and made September, October, November, and December the wrong numbered month. Pope Gregory, was it? So yeah, it's interesting. The day after Judgment Day is a September 11th in the Jewish calendar, not ours, because it's October 13th tomorrow, which would be 8/13, Octum, for the Octomom, who had to do porn because they found out that she had purposely inseminated her with the 8 baby embryos. And then everybody complained that she was forced to do porn. And what do you want her to do? Kill the babies? You know, people just have to control other people's lives. Take away other people's agency. Submit them to their will. It's mostly Christians who want to do this. And you're Islamic based. Islam typically are the ones who want to murder people if they don't conform and comply to Islam. And they claim to be the victim. I think it was MSNBC had a news article tonight about a new author talking about how America vilifies Palestine. Palestine has vilified themselves. Their record speaks for themselves. And we can go all the way back to Muhammad. We don't have to go back just 10, 50 years, maybe even 100. No, we can go all the way back to Muhammad. The causation of Islam as a terrorist, militant enemy of mankind, with all of their abuses and atrocities to their own people, specifically women. Women wear their abuse on their heads. And unless you forgot, there was the Iranian girl who didn't wear her hijab. Yeah. Jihad is the war. Hijab is the headpiece, headscarf. She didn't wear it the right way. Delmar brought that up again yesterday, talking to the little kids who are educated by Chinese TikTok. China is our enemy. They're not going to be telling us the truth. And dear God, get off your cell phone. Do you not know what China does to their own people with cell phones? Get off immediately. Nobody's gonna listen. So, Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, and talking about the latter days, and at that time, well, no man knows the day or the hour, Daniel, shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time, that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered. They don't want to listen. They've failed their judgment. Wow, Mormons have proven the book of Daniel, chapter 12's prophecy wrong. The book of Daniel is now a false prophet. Way to go, Mormons. What other? You want to prove Isaiah a false prophet too now? Maybe Jesus. You want to prove Jesus a false prophet? He already is, by turning him literal history. Go ahead, I dare you. I mean, Benson, as an apostle, spoke at BYU and said Jesus no longer has any valid information for Mormons. Only the living prophet at the head of the church. Anybody who's dead no longer counts as credible. So the whole Book of Mormon, the whole Bible, the whole of Joseph Smith's works, null and void. Only Kimball, I think it was. Not sure of the exact date, but most likely it was Kimball, since he took over after Kimball, didn't he? I don't think there was another one between them. I think Kimball died and then he took over. But I don't memorize like Ken Jennings. Dissociative memory. So I know how to use a reference book and look for the answer. Or I can Google search it and scroll down past AI to find the correct answer. It is not intelligent. I just see so many errors. Even on the one that I've been showing you a lot lately since I ran the test on AI. We'll come back to this. Gotta bring up another picture, it looks like. Say, is the religion of the Jews Christian? And it got it right. No, the religion of the Jews is not Christianity. Do you understand what this means? Christians, Islamists, Belmar. Even he botched it because of the key points to remember section below. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, lest we forget, since you are my audience. It is a separate religion, distinct beliefs and practices. They wrote the scriptures that the Christians compiled into what they called Old Testament and New Testament, not the Jews. Constantine's First Creed is the first instance of claiming that the Jewish scriptures are literal history, and thus why Christians compiled approved Jewish scriptures turned into literal history, making them chronological. And thus there are some that are confusing as to the actual chronology, because they have to deny science. So like the book of Job, what are the sons of God doing going to worship in a temple? Bet you never thought about that, did you? I bet you probably didn't even know about it or remember like Ken Jennings would have. Associative memory for me. But pay attention to what AI then says. Most notably, not accepting Jesus as the Messiah. It's Christians who turn the Jewish scriptures literal history, and thus in a chronology, and thus Old and New Testaments. And because of the New Testament, Jews will not accept that, because it's tainted with Christianity interpretation, similar to the Apocrypha. And so this means that the Jews do not accept Jesus, who was written by a Jewish author, as the Messiah, though written by a Jewish author of the Jewish religion about the Jewish Christ. But the difference is it's not literal history. It's prophecy and revelation of the last days that has the whole days and hours all throughout the book in story form. And so yes, you now know that it was a Christian who went in and added, no man knows the day or the hour, because the day or the hour is all over the place. And so no man knows the day or the hour only if they put on their Christian beer goggles. But here's where AI botches it. Judaism, the religion of the Jewish people based on the Old Testament. That's where Bill Maher goes wrong. He can accept that Jesus was a literal history figure. He just won't accept him as God. Can't do that, because now you're still giving credibility to the first creed of Christianity in 325 CE. And thus what AI pulled a blunder on. It's not intelligent. If it were really an intelligence, it would have known that the Jews base their religion on their scriptures, that the Christians stole and turned them into literal history and called it the Old Testament. He's merging Christianity to explain the religion of the Jews, and that's a major blunder. So likewise, what Brigham Young did to Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. And that's all you failed for, Mormons. You couldn't pass your judgment because you refused to accept and believe Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon were Jewish. And so Michael is mistranslated by everybody. If you were to Google search it, it would say, who is like unto God, maybe? Which would actually be correct. Let's check. Seriously? Yeah, who is like God. So they got that right. The extra one of gift of God is wrong. That was pretty lame to put that in there. It's not gift of God. It's a different name. But yeah, who is like God? And it's kind of simplistic, but it's there in the Book of Abraham. Chapter 4, isn't it? So I'm finished with Daniel, so we don't need to worry about that anymore. I did read the part about time people shall be delivered, everyone that is found written in the book. You got that? Okay. If you need more understanding about the written in the book part, go to section 85 of the Doctrine and Covenants. One Mighty and Strong. People written in the book. The current president and 12, which is actually a total of 15, are denied entrance into Zion because they failed their judgment. They're not written in the book. That's the Michael thing, writing in a book. And so yeah, we'll get to the judgment thing since I now forgot what I was gonna take you to. Abraham, that's right. I don't have this written down. I'm just talking whatever comes to mind, and it's visionary, so I easily lose track if I don't have something written down on a notepad to refer back to it. So Abraham, that would be chapter 4. No, it is the end of chapter 3. And so Mormons failed their second estate, but let's see, verse 24, and there stood one among them who was like unto God. Hey, Michael, not Jesus. Strange. Remember, this is from Egyptian papyri. And so, from the Egyptian papyri, we get the 10 Commandments. Yeah, the 10 Commandments got stolen from the 42 affirmations of the Egyptians. And then they threw in the Babylonian Sabbath day. Every day was the Sabbath day for the Egyptians. And so, yes, this is the Sabbath day on Yom Kippur for the Jews. And the Christ is the Lord of the Sabbath. For that very reason, it is a prophecy. Judgment day, Sabbath day, not a coincidence. And so you have Anubis escorting an initiate to the scales of Libra, and his heart is being judged, and if he passes his judgment, he doesn't get devoured by the multi-beast, as Anubis is seen in the second scene Thus, it's not a second Anubis. It's still Anubis, but it's showing him in the second phase of the operation. He's being escorted through the temple, and then Anubis takes his heart and then weighs it on the scale. You're supposed to see it as a separate scene, like a comic strip. This is the original comic strips. And so Ma'at is shown there with her human form, at least the upper half of the body, with the feather on top or the plume on top. And so his heart is weighed against the feather, and it has to be lighter than a feather, otherwise he gets devoured. So if your heart is heavy, heavier than a feather. And so if you haven't seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, they explain this for you. You have to be lighter than a duck. Or heavier than a duck. I think it's heavier than a duck because the duck was pretty heavy. And so yes, scales of judgment. Let's see what the... because I think Venus is there in the scales of judgment. Oh, it's empty. Empty. Okay, then we'll have to go to this other file that I know I saved it because I did a whole separate, 2024 October October stuff. So 12th, there it is. Yep. Venus is getting weighed on the scales of judgment on this very day. The church, the bride of Lucifer, aka Mars, the red star of the sea, Russell Marion, baby name meaning. How did the prophets know? How could they be true? And so then you have Thoth, who is Michael, David. Writing in the book of life. Daniel, the judge of God. Ta-da, judgment scale, judgment scene. Seeing the connection? Came from the Egyptians. They plagiarized it. And if you've ever read your Book of Mormon, you know I'm just joking. Because what religion of Jews are we? Supposed to be anyway. Pre-Babylonian captivity Egyptians. And so this needs to be added to our scriptures, because this says a whole bunch of stuff. And I've given you the translation of it. And there's a book somewhere out there that I've published, and somewhere there's the PDF of it. And so, your name is now getting written in the book of life. And David is the one doing it. And so then you have the initiate, having passed his judgment, being presented at the veil, and with the mallet, strikes 3 times. The Lord parts the veil with his hand, says, "What is wanted?" Adam, having been true and faithful in all things, desires further light and knowledge by conversing with the Lord through the veil for and in behalf of Adam, who is dead. You only get the name Adam if your actual name or the name of the person you're going through is the actual new name for the day. And so it defaults to Adam. And thus, never in a month do they have Adam as a day, because then they'd have to have a separate one on that day in case somebody had the same Adam name. And so they don't purposely do that. And last I heard, we're a little bit late on new names, Nelson. pattern has been ruined by you. You've gone overtime. Is it because Jesus fails to keep showing? Exposing you as a false prophet? And then, yeah, it's all Brigham Young stuff, not Joseph. And I still see videos being put out circulating the lies that it was Joseph Smith. No, guys. Once you learn that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is lying to you, you can't trust anything that they say. And so where are you getting your information from? Oh, Heber C. Kimball, huh? He's the one that said it was the real order of the priesthood? And who was he a follower of? He was actually the Oaks of Nelson, of Brigham. But anyway. And so Horus is the one presenting him at the veil. The prince, heir to the throne. Because you, as the initiate, standing before the throne, having passed your judgment, are like the Christ, Horus of the Egyptians. That is the Jewish Christ, Emmanuel, son Amun, sun god at noonday. So Father Amun, Osiris, is sitting on the throne with the two sister wives, literally sister wives, according to the story. And the reason why both sisters is because Nephthys was Set's wife. And because Set got banished after losing to Horus, the brother is required to care for the brother's wife, and thus any children from that marriage, and thus to continue to give children for his brother. Even though it's the brother now, not the original brother. You know, back in those days, survival was key in maintaining a dynasty and maintaining the bloodline. How did Joseph Smith know this? He got that right. He even got it right that the bloodline comes from the Canaanites. Zawi Hamas was furious and demanded that they deny science to revise it to be African. Oh, Zawi. Zawi, Zawi, Zawi. Is Zawi Hawass Israeli or is he Arabic? Otherwise Islamic? Is I miss the original computer programs that did not have algorithms. He is Islamic. That's why he's pissed. Because Islam believes that Canaan is their land. You know, when Babylon took it over, Babylon would then give birth to Muhammad. Kind of need to know your history in order to understand the con they're trying to pull on you. Bill Maher knows at least that much. That 3.5 billion viewed singer who's educated by China TikTok. So this is the judgment. And there's more to this picture. It's a super sacred secret. not to be revealed at this time. Oh, Mormons, how did you screw that one up? Hilarious. And so, in the 5th and 6th dynasty tombs, and other tombs, but the one particular one that I have is exactly the same, and variations of this one are in other 19th dynasty tombs of the Ra Moseses, in which Pharaoh is sitting on his throne and he's larger than life, as all the other humans are walking up the stairway to heaven, where the scales of judgment have been chiseled out over time, and they stand before Pharaoh to be judged, and Pharaoh becomes the devourer and Horus at the same time here. That they stand immediately before Pharaoh to be judged. He's the one who judges whether you enter into his presence or you get cast back into the netherworld. The Amduat, the field of reeds. And there's a bark sailing in the air in the wrong direction. It's going away from the scales of judgment. And there's a baboon, it's technically two baboons. The one is standing in the air, the other one's standing in the boat. And they're ferrying a swine back to the netherworld. He failed his judgment. Uh-oh, are Mormons going to turn into a herd of swine? Well-o. Nailed it. Nailed it. He failed his judgment. He's being cast back into the spirit world to await another resurrection because he failed. He does not get to go into Zion. And he does not have the crook. He replaced it with an ankh. Interesting. Well, it's the flail. Yeah, he's got the crook and the ankh rather than the crook and the flail. But it looks like there's a flail behind his head, unless that's a lotus leaf thing. Struggles to endure the test of time. So, the other scripture that we'll close here with, so it looks like I still might be able to go to bed early. I finished Caprica. It's just an awesome show. Setting it all up. And Zoe. I am God. It was an awesome scene. And then Daddy finally made her a body at the end as she was resurrected. Yeah, daddy-daughter shows really get to me. I tend to be attracted to daddy-daughter shows. So that's why the latest Beverly Hills Cop 4, Axel Foley, or Axel F, technically, was awesome. Not only was it doing all the greatest hits and some remixing of the greatest hits, Some of the greatest lines, the classic lines that we all know and love. It was specifically a daddy-daughter show. So, yep. See, Liz was the oldest, but she was 4 when she was stolen from me. Clayton was only 2 when he was stolen with her. So I know Lissa better. Little Liz. And so Emma, I never even knew, was never there for her birth like I was for the other 2. Right, we're looking up Legion. Just had to remember the swine pitcher. My name is Legion. Seems like Mark and Luke, not Matthew. Yeah, I'm not seeing a... What? Matthew 14? No. Too far ahead. And so, you have an outside setting in the mountains of Utah, and there by the tombs, the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, and a guy came out of the tomb, and he was crying like a sensitive snowflake and cutting himself with stones, like the priests of Baal against Elijah. And he saw Jesus, and he ran and worshipped him, cried with a loud voice, and said, "What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou son of Ammon? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not." Didn't have computers so that he could cyber terrorize Jesus and forbid him from viewing YouTube videos. If you're gonna be a cyber terrorist, I'm gonna do the jokes. And he said unto him, "Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit." And he asked him, "What is thy name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And we besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was there nigh unto the mountains of Utah, of Ephraim to dwell, a great herd of swine who failed their judgment. This is where it comes from. Feeding. Deanne Murdoch was the one who should be credited for this. She's the one where I found out about it, because I was focusing on the comparisons with the Egyptian documents from the book of Genesis. You know, I'm doing Ezekiel 37 prophecy for you. It's just that she died early and hastily concluded. Nonetheless, all the devils besought him, saying, "Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them." And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea. There were about 2,000 Mormons. Is that how many active Mormons are left in this church? I was going to say 2 million, but maybe not. and they were choked in the sea. They drowned. And so, yeah, Jesus is the Pharaoh Ra Moses, even though he's the son of Emmanuel, son Amen. Kind of mixed up the gods on that one, author. And so, yeah, the guy from the tomb is going for his judgment before Pharaoh. And he's sent back, failing his judgment, as a swine. This right here, taken, stolen, plagiarized from the 19th dynasty tombs. So there you go. I think I've got that one still on academia.edu. I think that's the video I have. So, you failed your judgment, Mormons. And so now I'm very curious to see what's going to happen tomorrow. You know, I have plans if you want me to do stuff. It even was inspired to make the plans on paper, because if I just trust my associative memory, there's going to be some things missing, and at different times other things will be missing that weren't missed the first time around, and the chaos ensues. I have to write things down to make sure I got it all, and I did that, and yet now we wait. And so yeah, trying to save your lives, trying to get you to Zion so that I can finally live in peace. I mean, here, it's awesome, but I'm still in bondage because of the damage the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints caused me. And so I will not fully be at peace until they are destroyed from the face of the earth. And this was Judgment Day, and they failed. And tomorrow is September 11th. In the Jewish calendar, because Thursday starts the Exodus, the Feast of Tabernacles. And if we end up going into the Feast of Tabernacles, like I warned you in the other video today, and maybe the previous one, you're not supposed to make haste to Zion, because it will be confusing and out of order. You know, despite this still takes time to make it orderly, and thus bugs. One of my apostles had sent me an email reminding me of the video I did on that. Go Dodgers. Game number 5 for the championships against the Padres. And the Padres back in the 80s were a good team. And so it was very frustrating when the Dodgers would lose to the Padres or lose to the Houston Astros. Those were the only two teams that the Dodgers struggled with back then. Otherwise, they would go on to win the World Series. Tommy Lasorda. Good old days. Yep. So, alrighty. We'll merge the two together, I think. Alrighty, see you tomorrow. Unless the employee gets upset, and apparently he was. I did a 2-hour video this morning. Unmolested.